Hey everybody, hope you're doing well today. A little bit different format in the sense that we're doing a reaction video today. This is not something I've ever done before, and it's not going to follow the format of normal reaction videos that you see. I don't really think that I have a strength in that area necessarily, even though I wish I did because it'd probably help the algorithm out a ton. I know they do well, but it's just not really something I find myself being very good at, either technologically or format-wise, with the strengths that I have in content creation. So it'll be a little bit different. I'm more reacting to a concept I've just learned about, or like a new project that I've just learned about that I think is really funny and also very personal, so I couldn't really pass up the opportunity to react to this a little bit, but I'm not going to be playing clips and then responding to it with you watching my reaction to those things. That's not what we're going to do, but it is reacting, interestingly, to another reaction video, which is kind of a little bit Inception-y, I guess. So hopefully you enjoy this episode. I think there's a really cool lesson that I'm trying to learn from all of this as well. And hopefully you take that away and can apply it to your own lives. So to set the scene a little bit, a few weeks ago, I was in Hamilton, Ohio, which is just on the outskirts of Cincinnati, Ohio, at a church event called the Winter Family Weekend that my church always puts on every year. It's an event where everybody from all over the country, we even have some people outside of the country attend this event. They get together and we just have like a weekend or a long weekend of, we do sports like basketball and volleyball and pickleball. We do games. There are events for kids. There is church services and Bible studies and seminars. It's just kind of a place for people to get together and spend time with one another. And we do this every single year. So I was at this event, and there's a lot of people that I've been friends with for years because I've grown up in my church. I've gone to camps, I've gone to different events and met people. And so it's really cool to have these opportunities to see each other at least once a year, because you might not get to other times in the year because you just live too far apart. And so as soon as I check into the hotel and I'm looking around, there's all these people that I'm like, oh wow, I want to say hi to them, I want to say hi to them. And I'm just making my way through the crowd. And one guy comes up to me who I've been friends with for a long time, and he starts talking to me about stuff, and he's like, oh, how's the podcast going? How's the YouTube channel? And I said, oh, it's really good. Thanks for asking. I appreciate it. Definitely still a small channel, not anything crazy. I'm not like a millionaire with billions and billions of views, but it is growing slowly but surely, and I've appreciated the response from it. And even if it's a small channel forever, I've just really enjoyed the opportunity to be able to study the Word of God and present it to people. And even if I make just a small impact, I'm just really appreciative of that, because I try and take this stance of, I'm going to put in the work, but it's up to God to provide the increase. And if He'd like to do that, wonderful. And if He wants that increase to remain a small yield, then that's fine too. But I'm really enjoying it. So thank you for asking. He's like, yeah, I've checked out a few of your episodes. I really enjoy it too. I think you're doing a great job. And that was really nice. But then he said something that I thought was really strange. He said, oh, I love the new project you're working on with your friends Brad and Ryan. Now, I had no idea what on earth he was talking about, because I am in fact not working on a new project with my friends Brad and Ryan. It's true that I do have friends named Brad and Ryan, but we had not spoken in a while. We live pretty far apart, and we just don't catch up quite as often as we'd like. They both have families that they're taking care of, and so it's just kind of a lot to like call too often. And, you know, communication just kind of falls by the wayside sometimes. So I wasn't sure exactly what he was talking about, and I just said, maybe Brad and Ryan are starting something. I'm not sure, but I'm not really a part of it if they are. He said, no, you are. I watched one of the episodes, and it was great. I loved what you guys did with it. And I was like, I think you must be mistaken, because I have not started a new project with Brad and Ryan. He said, no, you have. It was kind of centered around your podcast and YouTube channel, and you guys were just sitting there talking about it. And I was like, this does not exist, dude. I have no clue what you're saying. And he pulls up on his phone the YouTube channel that he's talking about, and sure enough, it's my friends Brad Bornhorst and Ryan Schallenberger, who I've grown up with and love very much, sitting there talking about my YouTube channel. They have started a reaction project to Truth Be Told, and it was the most bizarre thing to watch ever, because they didn't tell me they were doing it. I had no clue this was existing. And so I'm sitting there just like kind of dumbfounded for a second. Like, when did they start this? What are they doing? Is this maybe some sort of joke on my behalf? Like, I've grown up with these guys. We joke all the time. In fact, I really appreciated growing up with them because they're so quick-witted that I had to like learn to be quick-witted, because if you didn't, or you made a mistake in what you were saying, or you said something stupid or off, they would just kind of dogpile on you and make fun of you a lot. And so if you were quick enough, you could do that to other people. Sounds a little bit toxic, but it's just kind of how guys work sometimes. We like joking. We like making fun of one another. We like just kind of ribbing each other a little bit. And this is what we did. So any amount that I might be quick-witted or funny is in huge part due to these guys, because we just love to laugh, and sometimes that's at each other's expenses. So I thought, perhaps they're making a joke. That is very possible. And so I asked my friend that was telling me about this, are they laughing at Truth Be Told? Are they mocking it somehow? Is this just like a small channel they were going to reveal to me at some point as a joke? I wasn't really sure. He said, no, I don't think so. The episode was really good and insightful. Although it is true that Ryan is in my fantasy football league, not mine, but my friend who was telling me, Ryan's in this fantasy football league, and he lost so badly that he had to make a t-shirt of the podcast and wear it. Now, I'm familiar with this fantasy football league. They are a bunch of really good guys, but they will play, and if you lose, you have to do a challenge or a punishment designated by the other players in the league. And so I thought, okay, so it's a joke that he has to make a t-shirt about their podcast, so perhaps the podcast itself is also a joke. And I hadn't had time to watch it or listen to it or talk with Brad and Ryan, and this joke idea made me think, okay, that's probably what it is. Otherwise, they would have told me about it. If they're trying to support me or like be kind and they find value in what I'm saying and they're actually producing a good product to be encouraging to me, or they think what I'm doing is good and they want to expose other people to it, you'd think that's a huge compliment. They'd want to share that with me. So I thought, okay, this is probably a joke, but it is the weirdest joke I have ever come across. Most of the time, people tell me they listen to Truth Be Told, and I'm still just kind of like, really? They're like, yeah, every single week I tune in. I'm like, this is so weird. I don't know how to react to this yet. I don't know how to respond to this. But to hear that someone that I'm close to, two people I'm close to, not only listen, but listen enough to have conversation and dialogue about it, and then do that often enough that they're like, we should just sit down and record this. That was so bizarre to me. I did not understand. Well, Ryan was not at the Winter Family Weekend, but Brad was. And so I found him as quick as I could, and I was like, Brad, what in the world is going on? He's like, so you've heard about it. So we talked for a little bit. Turns out, no, they are being incredibly supportive, incredibly kind. They just like the content and wanted to be not only an encouragement to me, but expose people to the content that I'm creating. And they have some really good insights. And so I watched some of these episodes and I'm like, these are fantastic. Like sometimes they bring up things that I didn't even think of myself, and it's just in discussion. So I love the project they're doing. I'm going to link to it below in case you want to check it out. It's called Reacting to Truth, and they have 2 episodes up right now, but they're working on a 3rd that's going to come out soon. And they've just started this, but they are really good conversationalists, and they're funny, and I think they bring a lot of life to this tiny project that I have going with Truth Be Told. But this did make me feel so weird. And this is where I want to get into the lesson part of it that I think I'm trying to work out for myself. Because initially, when people tell me they even listen to Truth Be Told, even though I'm putting in effort and work into this, I'm praying about what I'm producing, I still feel a little bit weird about people taking their time to listen to me. I feel like I don't really know that I'm an authority on any of this. I'm just a regular guy that loves the Bible, that loves God, that wants to share that with people, and hopefully make people less intimidated to study the scriptures and to draw near to God. That's kind of my main overarching goal. But it's kind of tough because your whole characterization of yourself then on this podcast is you're regular, you're just normal, you know? And so when someone takes you as any kind of authority or anyone worth listening to, that's hard, even though that's exactly what you want. You want the channel to do well, but it feels weird to elevate yourself. And so just a really difficult thing to kind of wrestle with that I'm always wrestling with. But seeing this really just knocked me off my feet. And I thought, this is strange. It's almost like getting a hug from somebody that you don't normally interact with that way. And you just kind of like hold there for a minute. You're like, oh, this is kind of strange. Like, are we huggers now? Do we do this? Is this okay? And it's fine, but you don't realize it's fine for a minute. You're just kind of shaken or caught off guard because the overthinking part of your brain starts to kick in and you think, do I need to feel any certain way about this or is this good? So as I'm listening to their YouTube channel, reacting to truth, I'm thinking about all this stuff. I'm just a little bit disconcerted, a little bit caught off guard, thinking, why would they spend their time doing this? Why would they waste their time on me? Like, these guys are funny, they're intelligent, they could start their own project, but somehow they've wanted to wrap that up in supporting and encouraging me. And I just felt very strange about that for a while, but then I thought about this one verse in 1 John 4. And we're going to kind of reverse engineer it a little bit because it doesn't speak to this exactly, but I think it does indicate a truth if we think about the opposite or the inverse of this verse that could be helpful for me and maybe you in situations you come across. In verse 19 of 1 John 4, it says, "We love because he first loved us. If anyone says, 'I love God,' and hates his brother, he is a liar. For he who does not love his brother whom he has seen cannot love God whom he has not seen. And this commandment we have from him, whoever loves God must also love his brother." So Christians kind of intuitively understand this idea that love for God and love for your neighbor are intrinsically linked somehow. We know that when you love your neighbor, you are showing love to God. Jesus covers this when he says, "When I was hungry, you fed me. When I was in prison, you came and visited me. When I was sick, you took care of me." And they're like, "When did we do that?" And he's like, "When you did it for my people. When you did it for the least of these, my brothers, you did it also for me." So loving your neighbor is one way in which we show love to God. And when we love God in the right way, it means we're going to be showing love to our neighbor. But John is looking at this church and saying, you guys are having trouble loving one another who are right in front of you. How then can you love God who's far away from you? And I think there's two things going on here. One is it's a lot easier to love someone that's right in front of you. There are a lot more ways that we can show love to people who are physically there in front of us. I can't exactly give God a hug, but I can give someone who's mourning right in front of me a hug. Very different things. So that's going on, but also he's saying, how can you love God if you don't love your neighbor? Meaning, loving your neighbor is loving God. So by the very fact that you're not loving these people right in front of you, it shows that you're not appropriately loving God. So both of these things kind of go hand in hand. What does this have to do with my experience with uncomfortability about my two good friends wanting to show support and encouragement? Well, I think it's really interesting because typically, like I said, with this podcast, I have the view that I want God to provide the increase. I pray to him and I ask him to support the effort. I want people to be affected by it and to have good takeaways from anything that I have to say. And so I want God's love. I want to receive God's love and favor in this endeavor. But I found it weird to receive that from my friends. But I can't help but wonder if this verse, which speaks about outgoing love and concern for others being related to love for God, also could be reverse engineered to say, if you can't accept love from your neighbors, how can you accept love from God? Because love is a two-way street, right? But is it possible that my hesitance to accept love from my friends could indicate that I have a hard time accepting love from God, or that relationship is not quite right? Now, yes, we might always have a little bit of awkwardness to get over when it comes to receiving love from others, whether they're giving us their time or their effort, their money or their physical affection. It might be something that catches us off guard a little bit, and we have to kind of regulate again into our sense of normalcy, because sometimes we can just be surprised by the gesture. But we do need to accept those gestures of love because we want them to be accepted when we offer them up. And I think the same goes for God. We want to offer up love to him and have it be accepted, but we also need to accept the love that he pours out on us. And this can be a hard thing to do sometimes, especially when we go over like exactly what Jesus Christ went through when he died for us. We can kind of disassociate from this a little bit and say, well, yeah, he did it for the world, but we need to personalize it and kind of grapple with that uncomfortability and realize, no, he did it for you. And so when I'm looking at my friends doing this thing where they were showing encouragement and support and love to me, and my uncomfortability with that, with receiving that, is something I need to grapple with, not reject outright. Because if I can't accept love from friends who I can see, couldn't it be possible that I have a hard time accepting love from God who I can't see?